Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Paleozoic deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because this deck is an extremely fun deck to play that is actually a 60 card build because I've included some really spicy fun techs in this build for you guys. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Again, your name is description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing a single copy of Hyperia. Hyperia is a really good one-of in the deck because if this card is summoned, you get to draw a card, and you can actually summon this card off of Gigantic Sprite in this deck, which is basically our only target that we're going to be summoning, which is just really good to instantly summon out this card so we can actually draw a card because all of our Paleozoic cards are actually going to come out as level 2s, making it really easy to make Gigantic Sprite and then summon out this card to give us a draw. We then play 3 copies of Absolute King Backjack. Backjack is really good as a 3-of in the build, as this card has the ability during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can manage this card from your graveyard and excavate the top card of your deck. And if it's a normal trap, set it to your side of the field. Otherwise, send it to the graveyard, and that set card can be activated during this turn. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then place them on top of the deck in any order so you know what you're going to hit with this card, which is really good. This card is definitely a 3-of in the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Reasoning. Reasoning is really good as a one-of in the build because this card helps us get our cards in the graveyard, like our copies of Transaction Rollback and our Paleozoic cards. We then play a single copy of Card of Demise. Card of Demise is really good because this is a set 5 pass type deck, so this card is really good at helping us draw 3 cards. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Desires. You really want to dig into the deck with this build, so this card is really good at banishing 10 and letting us draw 2 so we can have more cards in our back row, so it's a pretty cool card to be able to play in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Trap Tantalizing Tune. This card is amazing and one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck because you discard a level 4 insect or plant monster or a normal trap, which is what you always discard off this card's ability to draw 2 cards. You can also manage this card from your graveyard to target one of your banished normal trap cards and place it on the bottom of the deck, which helps us recycle some of our cards, which is really nice. This card is really awesome as a 3-of in the build and just an awesome card overall. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the Paleozoic cards. So for the Paleozoics, we're going to start with 3 copies of Deinonymiscus. Now, all of our Paleozoic monsters have unique abilities, and they're really cool in this build because they actually summon themselves out to your side of the field, which is super cool. They all share the ability of once per chain, when a trap card is activated while this card's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card as a normal monster that's an aqua type, water, level 2, 1200 attack, 0 defense, and it is not treated as a trap card when it's on your side of the field. And if it's summoned this way, this card is unaffected by monster effects, also banished when it leaves the field, which is an amazing ability because you can easily make cards like Zeus and they just live through it because they're unaffected by monster effects, which is absolutely crazy. Now your copies of Deinonymiscus have the ability to let you target a face-up card on the field and discard a card, and if you do, banish it, which is a really cool ability, almost like a Karma Cut. We then play 3 copies of Olenoids. Olenoids is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card lets you target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it. We then play 3 copies of Canadia. Canadia is amazing as a 3-of as well, as this card is able to target a face-up monster opponent controls and change it to face-down defense position, basically being a Book of Moon. We then play 3 copies of Morelia. Morelia is amazing as a 3-of, one of the most powerful ones we can play in the build is it lets you send a trap card from your deck to the graveyard, so we can send cards like Transaction Rollback to the graveyard, so we can copy other traps. We then play 3 copies of Lincolnia. Lincolnia is amazing as as well, because this card helps us recycle our cards. It lets you target a banished card and return it back to the graveyard, which is so amazing with cards like Transaction Rollback. It's just an amazing card in the build. These are the only Paleozoic monsters you'll need in the build, and they're just really good to be able to play in the deck, to be able to use as trap cards and use as monsters. So that's it for the Paleo monsters. Let's get into the tech trap cards we're playing in this build. So for the tech trap cards, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Trap Trick. Trap Trick is amazing as a 3-of, because this card basically turns all of our 3-of traps into 5-of or 6-of traps, which is really cool because it lets us get to the exact trap card that we need, which is just absolutely amazing. We then play 3 copies of Transaction Rollback. Rollback is so cool in the deck. It's just an amazing card to get in the graveyard because it has the ability that you can banish this card from your grave and pay half your life points and then target a normal trap card in the graveyard except a copy of Transaction Rollback, and this effect becomes that card's effect on activation, which is so cool that this card can basically just copy the trap that you want to be able to go in for a bunch of really cool plays. We then play 3 copies of the Black Goat Laughs. The Black Goat Laughs is a really awesome card to be able to shut down your opponent because it lets you declare a monster card name, and this turn neither player can special summon monsters with that original name except from the graveyard. You can also manage this card from the graveyard and declare a monster card's name, and this turn neither player can activate the effects of monsters on the field with that original name, which if you know what you're playing against, this card can be absolutely crazy to shut down your opponent. It's just a really awesome 3-of. We then play 3 copies of Needlebug Nest. Needlebug Nest is really good as a 3-of in the build because this card lets us send the top 5 cards of our deck to the graveyard, and you really want to get cards in the graveyard like your Paleozoic cards, but you also want to get cards like Transaction Rollback to the graveyard, which is why you play this card as a 3-of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Fiend Griefing. Fiend Griefing is really good at helping us get our copy of Backjack into the graveyard, and it also has the ability to target a monster in our opponent's graveyard, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, send a Fiend monster from your deck to the grave, which is just an amazing ability to get the exact card you need in the grave. We then play 3 copies of Karma Cannon. Karma Cannon is one of the most powerful cards in the entire build because this card changes as many monsters on the field as possible to face down defense position. Then, if either player controls a face-up monster, they must send face-up monsters they control to the graveyard, meaning this card actually affects the player and not the monster, outing cards like Towers, which is just so cool. This is an amazing trap card to copy with your copy of Transaction Rollback, and is a really awesome card to basically just stop your opponent in their tracks. We then play 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison. Ice Dragon's Prison is an amazing 3-of in the build that can actually give us a boss monster on our side of the field. It lets us target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your field, but its effects are negated. Then you can banish a monster from both players' fields that have the same type as each other, which is just an amazing ability to help you out your opponent's monsters, but a really cool ability to use this card to bring a monster back from your opponent's graveyard to our side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Reckless Greed. Reckless Greed is great because this card does let us draw 2 cards, but we do skip our next 2 draw phases, but by the time we get to those draw phases, we're probably going to win. So this is just a really good card to help us dig into the deck, especially with how many cards we already have in the deck to be able to draw. We then play 3 copies of Waboku. Waboku is great in the deck as a 3-of because this card makes it so you don't take any battle damage from your opponent's monster's turn, and your monsters cannot be destroyed by battle, which is just an amazing ability to make sure that your Paleo monsters are going to stay on your side of the field so that you can go in for game. We then play 3 copies of Rise to Full Height. Rise to Full Height is really cool as a 3-of for its graveyard ability. You can manage this card from your graveyard and then target a monster you control, and monsters that your opponent controls cannot attack for the rest of the turn except to attack that monster, meaning if they out that one monster, they can't attack anymore, which is really nice to be able to protect the rest of our Paleo monsters, basically at the sacrifice of one of them. We then play 3 copies of Storming Mirror Force. Nobody plays around these cards anymore, which is just insane. Nobody plays around battle traps at all. So this card is really good in the deck as a 3-of, is when your opponent monster declares an attack, you return all opponent's attack monsters back to the hand, which is a really devastating effect to be able to just put all your opponent's monsters back in the hand and back in the extra deck, which is just really amazing because they're not going to play around this. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get in to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with Opabinia. Opabinia is really cool as a 3-up in the build, and this card is one of the main cards you're going to be summoning all the time. This card is unaffected by other monster effects, and you can activate Paleozoic traps from your hand, which is a really cool ability just to basically turn them into like hand traps. And if this card has a trap card as an XZ material, which it will, you can detach a material from this card to add a Paleozoic trap from your deck to your hand, which is an amazing ability to instantly get the exact Paleo card that you need. We then play 2 copies of our main boss monster. This card is really good as a 2-up in the build, and I absolutely love this card because this card is unaffected by other monster effects, and once per turn, if there is a trap card is sent from your spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can activate the top card of your deck, and if the trap card, add it to your hand. Otherwise, send to the graveyard, and once per turn during either player's turn, if this card has a trap card as an XZ material, which it will, you can detach a material from this card, and then target a card on the field and destroy it, which is an amazing effect. We then play a single copy of Totally Awesome. Totally Awesome is really cool because you can actually recycle Toad over and over again, as every time it touches the graveyard, it will actually put a water monster that you control, or put a water monster in your graveyard back in your hand, so you can just put this card back, which is why we just play 1 copy of this card. It's a walking negate, but you really only need a single copy of Totally Awesome. We then play a single copy of Gigantic Sprite. This card is really good because they help us bring out our copy of Hyperia, and it's just an amazing card overall in the deck. We then play a single copy of Downer Magician. Downer Magician is really good in the deck as a 1-up because it just gives us an additional material for Zeus. We play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon is amazing in this build because it is a bounce, and it's basically a skill drain for 3,000 or higher attack, and we're basically just playing trap cards, so it's very easy to protect this card on our side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Zeus. You absolutely need at least 2 copies of Zeus. I did consider 3, but in playtesting, 2 was enough. This card is really good at board wiping the field. It's just a fantastic boss monster to be able to make. We then play a single copy of the Paleozoic Link monster. This card is just a good option to be able to make. It's unaffected by other monsters' effects, and you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. That you can target a set card on your spell and trap card zone, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, set a Paleozoic trap directly from your deck, and it can be activated this turn. And if a set card you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card from the field or the grave instead, which is a pretty cool effect. Play a single copy of SP Little Knight. This card is just an amazing 1-up in the build. Basically just spot remove cards off the field. It's a double interruption, and it's just a fantastic card. You could probably play either Sky Cavalry, a Totally Awesome, or a 3rd copy of Zeus if you wanted to for another budget option. But for now, I'm playing SP Little Knight to be able to basically use this card as a double interruption. We then play a single copy of Link Spider because all of our Paleos summon as normal monsters. So this card is really good, just give you an effect monster on your side of the field, so you can make a copy of SP. We then play a single copy of Linkuriboh. Linkuriboh is just really good as a 1-up because we do play the copy of Backjack, so we can just normal Backjack and link it away for this. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is really fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Paleozoic before, you should definitely give this deck a try. I really like this 60 card build that I've been playtesting a lot, and it's really, really fun. I really like it. There's very few monsters in the main, but your Paleozoic monsters make up for it, and it's just really fun with transaction rollback. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.